How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
Amazing. Good, good, good. Thank you for making time tonight.
This is kind of exciting. What part of the world are you in?
I am here in the States in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, okay.
How about you?
Cool. I am in Kansas City.
Not
I kind of
terribly far.
not terribly far.
Yeah,
I used to be kind of back and forth. LA is my second home.
got it.
But when coronavirus happened, I quarantined here because my whole family is here. So it made sense to be stuck here.
Got
But
it. I see.
it has been an interesting journey.
And here we are 3 years later, right? In the blink of an eye. I read this article recently. And usually when I say I read an article, it means TikTok or Instagram, but this actually was an article that I read about this sort of mass exodus from Los Angeles and how over the last
Yeah.
even before COVID really, but
Yeah.
especially since, there has been this exodus
Yeah.
from LA County specifically, but it's just interesting to see what we prioritize and hold special, since
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to me that it took 3 years for COVID to bother me.
Yeah.
Because like I'm such an introvert anyway. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
same.
oh, quarantine. I mean, that's kind of my regular life, like
Right.
I wasn't really all that bothered by that. I was like, that's what I've been doing forever anyway.
Yeah.
But now it's like having been here, in the lack of travel. I mean, we did some road trips here and there, but nothing major. And for somebody who, has virtually lived out of a suitcase for a decade,
Yeah.
like it's just
Yeah.
like it's just now finally I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Like I've never spent this much time in this city. I've never been landlocked like this. Like I need an
Right.
ocean. I need to get out in the world. But yeah, it's taken 3 years for me to get annoyed.
In the beginning, the sort of quarantine or isolation was like, oh, just an excuse now to cancel
Yeah.
plans. So I had to start like checking myself and making sure that I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, going back to my old ways of
Mm-hmm.
isolation and sort of being just in my own little cocoon. So,
Yeah, I definitely love being in my bubble. And
yes.
I just recently had to put my dog down, and
Oh,
that has been so freaking challenging because he made it so much better to be in the bubble. You know what I
yes.
mean?
I
And
can't
it's like
imagine.
now I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what to do with myself. But the bubble's definitely not the same without him. You
I
know?
can't imagine. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a grumpy old man now, but he has
Yeah, mine was too.
literally kept me sane.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
14 and a half years. And
Mm,
I mean, we had an incredible life. He traveled all over the world with me, and it was amazing. I mean, it's been devastating, but it's not like you don't know it's going to happen.
right.
Like that's what I keep saying in my
Yeah.
head. I'm like, Angela, what did you think? Did you really? Because I would always talk to him about living forever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, did
That's what
you
I say. I'm like,
that was going to
promise me,
happen?
promise me.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I
Mm.
can't. Oh, how long has it
So
been?
hard. Just a few weeks. Like this is literally the first time I've said the words without crying.
Goodness.
Like I'm
Gosh.
getting so much better.
Yeah.
Each day it gets a little bit better, but it's just weird because well, I mean, everything you do revolves around them. Like everything. I mean,
Absolutely.
every light I turn on and
Yes.
when and where things are set and what time we do
Yes.
things and my schedule, like everything
Every
revolves around
decision,
them.
every trip,
Everything.
every,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel really kind of lost, So I'm just like, I
Yeah.
don't know what to do with myself. Like I used to have this kind of deciding factor, and
Yes. Oh,
now I'm just me.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very weird, very weird.
Sometimes I produce my episodes as sort of a behind the scenes look, and I feel like we've already talked about so many good things. I feel like I should perhaps formally open the episode and then we can kind of just go from there.
Okay, sounds good. Listen, there's
Yeah.
nobody is surprised I get paid to talk for a living,
I know.
okay?
Lucky you. Happy Sober Day friends. Welcome to the Sobriety Diaries. My name is Nate. I am a grateful recovering alcoholic 7 years from my last drink. The Sobriety Diaries is a video podcast where we share powerful stories of recovery told by those who lived them. Check us out at thesobrietydiaries.com for all things podcast related. And for all our video interviews, head over to youtube.com/Nate Kelly. Also, please share this podcast with just one person in your life who may still be struggling. You just never know what they may need to hear today. Recovery is possible. Well, I'm here with my new friend, Angela Pugh. She is the host of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. She is a master coach. She is an interventionist. I definitely want to get into that because that fascinates me. But if you don't mind, I would love to start with a bit of your personal journey and how we have made it to this point where now you are able to offer yourself in a way that can help others and sort of this service aspect, as we've talked a little bit about.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on, by the way. I kind of forgot in all of our talking, I kind of forgot that we were already recording because we've just been chit-chatting about anything and everything, which is fabulous. But thank you so much for having me. It's great to meet you and get to learn more about you as well. So I will give a little bit of my drinking story. I don't delve too much into that a lot because we all kind of understand that pain and what it's like to live trapped in that alcoholism and how bad it is. I will say that I refer to myself sometimes as an accidental alcoholic. You know, I didn't start drinking really young. I didn't start drinking to mask pain or any of those things. You know, I was a really comfortable, confident, well-adjusted kid in high school. I had really healthy friendships and relationships. I had great boundaries. I never drank. You know, a lot of my friends drank. Like I'd go to the parties and things like that, but I just wasn't interested in drinking. It just didn't interest me. So it really hit for me when I started working in a bar. So at that point, it became very normal, you know, and on the professional side of recovery, we talk a lot about your environment and how those environmental factors really influence your drinking experience. And that was huge for me because all of a sudden I was in this environment where everybody drank every day. It was so normal to drink every day. And so I started drinking pretty regular, you know, probably every day. Now, I wasn't drinking a ton, right? Because I didn't have any tolerance. It didn't take much for me.
Right.
And also like when I was young, and this is part of my progression too, like I can look back to when I started drinking where like we really went out to do fun things and maybe had some drinks.
Yes.
You know, like we would go out dancing and maybe we would have a couple of drinks. To, you know, fast forward some years, it was going out to drink, not do fun things. The focus was drinking.
Maybe fun things happen.
Yeah, maybe fun things happened. Yeah. Fast forward a few years from there, and it was I wouldn't do anything that didn't involve drinking.
Right.
You know, so it's fascinating to be able to look back and kind of connect all of those dots. But, you know, by the end, I was incredibly sad. I really hated myself. I hated who I was. I was a liar. You know, I lied to everybody. I lied to all my friends. I lied to my jobs. I was a bartender most of my adult life. And I didn't, most of my adult life, I didn't even go to work until 10 or 11 p.m. But at the very end of my drinking, I worked somewhere I had to be there at 5. And I was having a problem getting to work at 5 p.m.
Wow.
Right. Because now remember, my schedule was flipped, right? So I would go in at 5, usually start drinking at 8 while still working. So just drinking a little bit, you know, to get the buzz going. And then when the bar would close, that's when my drinking would really start. So then I was staying up all night drinking, you know, and staying up all night drinking maybe started as staying up till 4 or 5 a.m. and then it was 6 and 7 a.m. still drinking. The sun is up.
Ooh.
And I really just drank myself into this horrible, lonely, sad, and desperate existence
Mm.
where I just did not like anything about myself or my life. I always thought that one night I would go to sleep and I would just never wake up again. And every day that I woke up, it's like I was mad. Every day when I would open my eyes and realize I was still alive, my first thought would be, oh my God, I have to do this again.
Wow.
It's so sad.
I remember that really hits home for me because I remember I'd moved to Maryland for a work opportunity. So I was in this place that I didn't know anybody and didn't really make any friends because I would just stay at home and drink by myself. So the isolation really kicked in. And I remember cleaning up my apartment each night and sort of straightening things up, making my apartment look neat in the event that I wouldn't wake up. And I remember doing that every night and having the same feeling when I woke up each morning.
Isn't it crazy
do it
to think
again.
about? Yeah, isn't it crazy to think about living like that? I think about it now and I'm like, I don't even know how I did it as long as I did. I just was so miserable. I was
So
so
miserable.
miserable. And this is something I like to talk about a lot too, because you hear all these terms kind of thrown out, oh, but I'm high functioning,
Mm,
and you hear high bottom and rock bottom and low bottom.
yeah,
And I feel like there's so much misconception around what those things mean, because for all intents and purposes, I was very high functioning also. I lived in a beautiful place. I made a lot of money. I had the $70,000 Lexus in the garage. I was high functioning too, but I was not high functioning on the inside.
right. What does that
And
mean?
yeah, and really, and that's what rock bottom is. People think about rock bottom and they think of this moment, but I'm like, it's not a moment. Rock bottom is where you are internally.
Mm,
Rock bottom is that isolation and the desperation and that hating yourself. Like that's rock bottom. I don't care how high functioning you are.
absolutely. Yeah.
Rock bottom is an internal place. It's a psychological, emotional place. It's not the DUI or the losing your house or your spouse or the
Right.
whatever,
Right.
it's
The
rock bottom
stuff,
is
the
internal.
things.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
For me, desperation is the perfect word to describe it. And it is just that state of being.
Yeah, it's so hard to imagine living like that as long as I did. Like I can't even fathom it now.
Yeah. How long did you spend in the service industry?
20 years. So I
Yeah.
continued bartending even into my sobriety. And so I had my, quintessential rock bottom moment. I actually had several. One of them finally stuck, but
Okay.
I would have a moment that I thought should be rock bottom, and then who knew rock bottom had a basement, and
Absolutely.
we just sink lower.
Yep.
But I did have my really major rock bottom moment one night, leaving a bar after drinking all night with all my friends, and on my drive home, I hit another car at 70 miles an hour on the
Mm.
freeway. And there was a moment that I thought I had killed that person that I had hit. And I don't remember a ton of details. Obviously, I was not in my right mind, but one of the moments that was so powerful for me was I was standing there on the side of the freeway and I was looking at all the wreckage and the flashing lights and just all the chaos, right? And then there was me who, I was in my skirt and heels because I always thought I was so cool. And the thing was I didn't do anything different that night, right? I went out with the same people, we went to the same places, I was driving the same route. There was nothing different. And all of a sudden I'm standing there staring at all this chaos and thinking in my head like, "Oh my gosh, I have to call my mom and tell her I killed somebody." Like, how do you have that
Ooh,
conversation,
yeah.
The second thing was I found out that guy I hit was not hurt. Thankfully,
Thank
he was
God.
okay. I was actually the only one hurt. Um, but the second really powerful moment was thinking in my head, I couldn't believe I was walking away from this accident, right? And I thought there must be something else I'm meant to do because I am trying my hardest to die and I keep not dying.